Right. So I created a little bit of a workflow, mostly because I wanted to test out some of the training that I received when I was watching our Write a Boom pre-day, and also to see whether I could solve some of our internal um, human processes. So basically what I did was I created a workflow to grab the Discord name of the person that we've invited and their email address, to look in both our PSA and in Discord for them, automatically build out their channels, because as I'm sure you've seen, it's it could be pretty not scalable if you were doing that all manually. So this is my workflow. This is the end result of it. I'll definitely show you how I got here, but from the basic side of it, the form gets submitted. It goes off and it checks to see whether the person exists as a client in Halo. So I'm taking that email and I'm actually just splitting out the domain, since that's how we do that already. If there isn't a Halo client, I just had it going into a no-op. I actually added this recently to notify us in Discord, just based on one of the failures that I had. So that was a recent change. But basically, if it's not in Halo, it'll tell me and it'll go that way. And then if it is, it'll come down and proceed. The same on the member side. I have it grabbing the username, checking to see if they already exist in Discord, because maybe they don't. So that'll be a future, put a little note in there. Maybe there's a future automation where we can send them an invite, but just ended that off without an action at that point. So if the kewp member's found, then I use the Discord integration that Adam built to grab our server information and pass through some of those aliases. So I've grabbed that Halo domain, the Discord user ID, and the nickname in case I want to do more with it in the future. Then I check to see if their channel already exists. If it does, I just send that down. That's how I'm looking for it, if it matches what's already in Halo. And then if it doesn't, then I go off and create it in Discord. So I split that off. I create the role basically the same way that I created the other one, but then I only use the first part of the domain and then assign that same user to that. It'll go this way to just append them to it if it already exists, and then comes back down to check the channels and then check to see if the channel exists. If it does already exist, it'll just add the roles to it. So it'll take away the everyone role, and then it'll add the specific role that we just created. And then if it's not found, it'll create the channel and just add the permissions right there. So this isn't how I started. How I started was just trying to figure out the very specific basic use case, like Tim and Kelvin talked about in their automation conversation, and Aaron talked about around understanding what is the process that you're trying to solve for. So when I first created it, it looked more like this, right? It was just very specific. What is the one thing that I want to prove can happen? And then I broke down where my different deviations are at that point. When I was done and I kind of had everything mapped out, it looked a little bit like a pregnant lady. But I obviously wanted to make it look very much more clear and pretty. So then I cleaned it all up afterwards. I thought to myself, I don't want to tell anybody internally about about this is, especially if I work with a bunch of rock folks and people who care about automation. Like, I want them to know exactly what's happening. So I put all of my descriptions in here, mainly because I like playing with ChatGPT, and I thought, hey, if these descriptions are in here, that means they're in the JSON as well. So when I popped into my edit workflow, you can actually see everything here describes everything that I put in and what's happening. And so 2 different buckets. I didn't even say anything. I just threw it into ChatGPT. And then I told it to build me a technical document that describes what the workflow does. And so it kind of gave me a lot of text, and I was like, okay, I want that to look better. So please put that into Markdown and define it as a process document, including the headers that I wanted it to give. I said, show me the logical flow of what's happening. And then I also wanted it to put the Ginger statements below for anybody who is technical enough to understand them, to see what's actually happening here. And so it built that all out for me in the table. And that's what I did.